Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to the Mom on the Verge podcast, where I aim to help you improve your sense of joy, purpose, and meaning in this life. We will talk about a lot of different ways we can do this, but ultimately, we'll be working toward finding our way back home to ourselves and remembering that even in the most challenging times, peace is only a breath away. I am your host, Katie Farinas, a mom, nurse, and yogi on a mission to improve mental health and build community in our world. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the show. I am excited to give you this episode. It is with Jillian Laudano, who we actually have some mutual friends in common. We met once in person years ago, but it was in a large group setting, and we actually didn't have the opportunity to really have much one-on-one conversation. So this is the first time that we had that opportunity, and it was so fun. There was just so many great moments of this conversation, and I can't believe she's been in my outer circle for all these years, and this is the first time we're having this conversation. We have so much in common. We're talking about mindset and manifestation, and Jillian is a holistic life coach. And she has a life coaching practice where she helps guide individuals to just cultivate a more peaceful and aligned life and a more successful life. She does that through many different techniques. She is super passionate about EFT tapping, which you'll hear about on our show today. Meditation, breath work, visualization, and identifying and removing or releasing limiting beliefs and blocks that prevent us from achieving our best life. She came to this, you'll hear in this episode, in kind of a roundabout way. I love episodes where I can help you understand the concept of Dharma, because I know that it's big and maybe a little bit confusing topic. And she gave me a great example in her own life of how she really was living her Dharma throughout each stage of her life in different ways. She was using her essence, but her essence was coming through in different ways, eventually leading her to where she is now, where she does both group and one-on-one coaching. She has a YouTube channel. She has a pretty significant social media presence where she does a lot of speaking and teaching. She also does live speaking engagements and classes. I'll, of course, put all of her information in the show notes, but by just following her intuition, staying curious, she has arrived in this place in her life where she really feels like she's thriving, she's helping others to heal, and she's really living a fulfilled life. So I love manifestation conversations because I think I've mentioned this on other episodes. It's really not something that I had thought about or learned about much in my life until this past year. And what you'll hear Jillian say, and I've heard other manifestation coaches and teachers say, is that we're all manifesting all the time. Every moment of every day you are manifesting. It's just whether you are consciously manifesting or unconsciously manifesting. And so really it behooves us to be consciously manifesting, because then we can bring into our lives the things that we really want, the things that will bring us joy, happiness, peace, all the emotions that we are really searching for. Because no matter what you manifest into your life, whether it be, a physical item or a person or relationship, what you're really seeking is the feeling. And so, that's how we get there, is we learn to live in the feeling before we have the thing that we think is going to give us the feeling. And you'll hear Jillian talk about that as well. So I hope you enjoy this conversation. I hope it clarifies some points of what manifestation is and how you use it and what prevents us from getting to where we want to be. I definitely pressed her a few times with a couple of different questions, and she had great answers for me. So I just hope you really enjoy everything that we talked about. All right, I will be back at the end for your mindfulness moment related to this topic. Have a great listen. All right, Jillian, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
And too, we have some mutual friends, but I also see a lot of the stuff that you post on Facebook. And I was like, I have to have this girl. She's clearly needs to be on my podcast. We clearly align on so many topics, but the one we decided to talk about today was mindset and manifestation, which is my one of my new favorite topics to talk about. It's something that I really haven't played with a lot. And so I am really learning a lot in this process. Like I started probably at the beginning of the year, really kind of playing with this whole manifestation concept and how it works and playing with it in my own life. So I love to, talk to people who have a lot more experience than me because I still have so many questions about it. So welcome, welcome.
Thank you so much. And this is such a fun topic to talk about. So I'm super excited to embark on this today.
Yes. How did you get into it? How did you start on this journey? And I will also tell the audience you're also a life coach. So how did you
Yes.
start on that whole journey?
It's kind of interesting, actually. Well, when I was in college, I was doing communications and psychology. Originally, psychology was my first love, and I thought I wanted to go into psychology and work with people. That kind of went by the wayside, and I like the creativity of communications, and I wanted to work in advertising. So I was kind of playing around with a bunch of different ideas. And then, as happens to a lot of people, when I was getting towards the end, graduating, I started realizing this isn't what I want to do. Oh my
Mm,
God, what do I do? So I
yes.
graduated. But when I was done, I did something completely different. I went to cosmetology school and I started working again, very creative. I still got
Yes.
to work with people using communications, using psychology, but I was getting to be really creative and I loved it. It was so much
Mm,
fun. But I got a lot of really weird kickback from people when they heard, I just finished this, degree and I was doing so great. And everyone had these big aspirations and dreams for me. And then I just became a hairdresser, air quotes for those of you who are listening, right? So it's a little bit of a blow to my ego, I guess. But anyway, so I went into hairdressing for a long time. And what I loved about it was the creativity, but it was the one-on-one with people. And I feel that one of my superpowers is I'm able to make people feel very comfortable, make people feel
mhm,
heard, and I'm very good at holding space for people.
mhm.
So what I noticed with all my clients was everybody would leave saying, I feel like this was a therapy session. I feel like I have just, gained so much from this, right? So I
Right.
started realizing that this is really something that I was really good at, right?
Mhm,
So my husband and I started moving all over the place for his job. So I then started thinking, good thing I went into this hair career because now I could move anywhere and have a job, right? So I worked in lots of different places in all different states, got to meet lots of different people. And I found that it was very natural for me to create this space for people. People
mhm.
would divulge things to me that I couldn't believe they were saying in these busy, giant salons. But
Yeah.
again, it felt very one on one. So I knew that that was something that I always wanted to do. Well, when COVID came around, the world shut down, we're all stuck in our houses, and I decided to make a talk show. Because don't even ask. It literally was when you hear people say those divine downloads, it was
Yeah.
literally a divine download. It came to me and it just said, you need to connect people. So it was called Thursday Talks with Jillian. It was live every Thursday night and I streamed it online and I got to interview the coolest people. And a few of them were life coaches. And I kept having life coaches come into my life in some capacity or another. And I've
Mhm,
been intuitive since I was a child. My mother was, my grandmother. We've all been that way. So I really follow my intuition. And I didn't think it was a coincidence that life coaches kept coming into my life.
mhm.
So one of them that I had on offered as a freebie to all my viewers that were watching a free discovery call. And so when we hung up, we were wrapping everything up, and I jokingly said, "Hey, do I get one too?" And they're like, "Yeah, sure. Okay, great." And I really did, and I had one. I finally, confessed this desire that I always had, that I wanted to have my own business, this helping business. It stemmed back from when I was a kid. It stemmed from when I even started college with the psychology in the mind.
Yeah.
And they said to me, "Well, why aren't you doing it?" I said, I don't know." And I was being coached in this call. And by the end of it, I made I was clear on what I wanted, which is
Yeah.
part of coaching, gaining the clarity.
Right.
We set up a plan and then I followed through with it. And then I followed
Yeah.
back with them a few days later and said, I joined. I did what I had to do. And it was just, I felt like it was a natural progression, even though some
Yeah.
may say, wait a minute, you started doing this, then you did this, then it seems so erratic, but it's not. It's perfectly
Mhm,
connected. So
mhm.
anyway, my life kind of brought me exactly to where it needed to be. Now, I also learned during COVID online businesses are wonderful. I have coaching clients all over the world. The only
Mhm.
thing that gets messy sometimes is time differences. Some of them have
Yeah.
extreme time differences.
Yeah.
But this online business that I have, I get to be home with my family. I get to create all of my own hours, and I get to do what I love, is holding space for people, helping
Yeah.
people. And one more thing I want to add to this is my mom was sick for many, many, many years. And she said to me when I was young, she was sick for when I was 13 to 28. That's a whole nother story in itself. But she said this one profound thing to me that is the basis of my whole business and what I do. And she had a very, very stressful life, which manifested in lots of infirmaries throughout her whole life.
Mhm.
And she
Mhm.
said to me one day, Jillian, look at the word disease. It's dis-ease. She said,
Mhm.
whatever you do in life, try to be peaceful. It chokes
Mhm.
me up just thinking about it. And I took that like so strongly. And that has been my life's mission because I struggled with debilitating anxiety as a child. I had agoraphobia, could not leave my house. It was a disaster. So she said that to me, and I will never forget that. And that's what I had to do it for myself first.
Mhm.
Once I kind of, healed myself and helped myself and did all the work for years and years and years, now I'm like paying it forward. So that's where this coaching business came from. So that's a very
Yes.
long-winded answer to that, but that's where
I I really love that answer though. I really love it because so I talk a lot about Dharma. That's what I do. I'm a Dharma coach. And it's really kind of hard to explain Dharma in a short, like little blurb. It's not really blurbable. I wish that it was because I feel like people would, it would be easier to explain to people. But what you're explaining is your dharma, right? So it's that red line, what I call the red line, the through line that ran through your entire life. Like it just kept showing up. It kept showing up. Every time you turned towards something that you thought was interesting or that you were curious about, it was related to this same thing. It was related to this holding space for people, holding that safe space, that safe container for people. And sometimes that showed up as maybe you were going to be a psychologist, or it showed up in your chair as a hairdresser, or it shows up as a life coach. Like it's the same thing. You are just, that is your essence. We talk in Dharma, we talk about essence. That is your essence, and how you express that essence came out in different ways. And that creativity is also a part of your essence, right? So, and as a coach, I'm sure you're using, there's a lot of creativity in that as well. So I love it because you actually just helped me explain Dharma to the people listening to this podcast. And you were following your intuition, and Dharma relies a lot on intuition. Everyone is intuitive, but not everyone can hear their intuition because they just don't have the practice. And you mentioned, like, I think you said your mom and your grandmother were very intuitive. So that's amazing because you had that example in your life of women who were doing that. They were hearing the call and they were following it. And so they let you know that that's possible for you too. And that's a beautiful gift that they gave you. And also kudos to you because life can really prevent us from following our intuition, even when we do have great examples in front of us, but you never let that happen. So that's amazing. I give you so much credit for that because it's not easy. Life is loud and busy, and there are a lot of things thrown at us. And sometimes it makes that little voice inside very difficult to hear. So good job. Yes. And the life coach thing is really funny also, the way you said that, because I feel like life coaches also say what you say. It was like just kept coming back to me, kept coming back to me. But for whatever reason, I think life coaching in general, I don't know that it's is well known. I mean, it's growing. It is certainly growing. But I myself for probably 20 years thought about being a life coach and was like, no, I can't do that. That's not a real job. It doesn't have a 401k. There's no salary. And I really didn't. For years I didn't. I held myself back because just like you were talking about, like being a hairdresser and people kind of illegitimizing that, I was illegitimizing life coaching until I experienced it. And then I was like, whoa, like hair blown back. Like, whoa, this is amazing. Like you can really help people doing this. And so I'm glad you came to it. I'm glad you finally came to it. And I will have to go back and listen to your talk show. Is it still available? Can people still
It
listen to it?
is. It's actually on my website. My tech guy is amazing, and he used to take all my Thursday talks and upload them to my website.
Okay.
So I used to stream them live on Facebook and I was starting to stream them on my YouTube channel, but then I kept it just to Facebook. Because things get lost in the sauce on Facebook, he then made a tab. I can't remember what tab it is, but you'll have to look on the website. But there is,
Yeah.
I think maybe it's under media, but you could access all of them. They're all there.
Okay.
And
That's
there's
amazing.
some really, I mean, and the cool thing was it was lots of different topics. And I just felt compelled to grab people from all different walks of life and connect them. And what was beautiful was, you know, one week I might have a yoga instructor. One week I had a life coach. One week I had, you know, whatever. It just kind of changed week to week. And because it was live, it added that other interesting element of surprise. You never know,
Yeah.
is this going to work? Like, it was just, I
Right.
felt like it was something that was needed at that time. And again,
Yeah.
it was just that divine download. I went with
Yeah.
it. And that then led me to finally take the plunge. And here's the funny thing, before I took the plunge to actually explore life coaching, I was going to seminars. I just had recently went and saw Jack Canfield. I was thinking about doing his Train the Trainer program. I
Mm.
was really playing around with a lot of ideas, but I just was never jumping in. Something was holding me back.
Yeah.
And then one of my friends knows that I love Jay Shetty to death. Love him. I don't know if you're familiar with him,
I
but
am. I
love
am.
him. And
Yeah.
in 2020, when I was making this decision, he launched his program, his life coaching program. And I
Okay.
thought, you've got the stars and the moon are aligning. And it
Yeah.
was the most comprehensive program I could ever. I mean, it was so intense and so beautiful and so
Yeah.
balanced, exactly what I was looking for in a program. It had all the
Yeah.
fundamentals of life coaching, but it also had the spirituality side, which
Yeah.
I'm big in as well. And whenever
Yes.
I say spirituality, I want to throw this out there. I'm not talking about religion or denominational, any of that. I mean
Hmm.
spirituality as in connecting with yourself truly, but connecting with the higher power of whatever that may be to you,
Yeah.
connecting with your higher self. And it was just the perfect mix. It all came at the right time. And because we're talking about manifestation, the key to all of this was I allowed everything to transpire. I
Right.
let the resistance down. I got clear on what I wanted, believed I was worthy of receiving it finally, and it all
Yeah.
just flowed exactly how it had to flow. It was perfect,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
divinely orchestrated.
Well, that sounds a lot like manifestation.
Yes.
So let's dive into that. So when you were going through that and allowing and all the things that you just mentioned, were you familiar with manifestation? Was that okay? So how did you become familiar with that and start
Well,
using it in your life?
Well, here's the thing. I want to just put this out there that we're manifesting all the time. Everything we do, everything we have, everything we are, it's all manifestation. So a lot of people say, I'm not good at manifestation. I don't know how to manifest. I just want to let everybody know we're always manifesting. What I like to practice and what I like to teach my clients is becoming a conscious creator. We're always creating. Everything we do is everything we say is an affirmation and everything we receive is a manifestation. Period, plain and simple, right? It's becoming conscious of what it is we're manifesting into our life. So I like to say to people, if you look at manifestation, you have to take all of your personal identity out of the equation. The world is not good or bad. It's everything's neutral, right? It's all energy. We're all energy. So if we're vibrating at a certain frequency, think of magnets, for instance, right? Things are attracted to other things. Things are repelled by other things. So I started becoming aware of manifestation a long time ago. And the best story I could ever tell on manifestation, people love it's actually in a friend of mine's book on manifestation. This is how great the story is. And I'll paraphrase it because it's, you know, I don't want it to be too long, but my husband, I manifested him almost 25 years ago. The best manifestation I ever did, right? I was in a slew of relationships like everybody is, and they weren't horrible. They just weren't what I wanted. There was lots of tears and crying and ups and downs. And I finally said one day in my mom's kitchen, I was 20, almost 21 at the time. I declared in front of everybody, I've had it. I've had enough with all of this. If and when I decide to let love into my life again, and it was very dramatic. I took the refrigerator pad off the refrigerator and I wrote a list. This will be what the new person will have. And if they don't, I don't want anything to do with it. I am worthy of this, right? And I write all these things and everyone's laughing. It's just this funny kind of silly thing.
Yeah.
Slapped it back on a refrigerator. I kid you not. 5 days later,
Oh,
this story, you could read it in this book my friend Christy Deer wrote. 5 days later, and I was still in college. I was just graduating and I worked at another college. My final ran over. It was in May. My final ran over. So it made me late for work, which I'm never late for anything, right?
right.
So I'm panicking that I'm late for work. So now I'm driving erratically because I'm trying to get there. And then I realized I have to stop and get lunch because the college I work at, the cafeteria was closed. It was finals, it was closed, whatever. So I stopped for lunch. Very long story short, he was in the same place I was in. He was getting ready to leave as I was walking in with a huge line of people in between. The timing could not have been more perfect. We caught eyes. It was a movie moment. I know this sounds so sappy for anyone listening. I promise you, this is really how this happened. I wouldn't believe it either if it didn't happen to me. And then we had this moment. It was bizarre. And then he walked out. I waited, got my food. And when I left, he was still out there, kind of fiddling around, pretending he was doing something at his truck. And I said, oh my God, he's waiting for me. I know it. Not in a weird way, just,
Right.
And we get to talking. It's very awkward, but cute. And I gave him my work number. I was on my way to work, late as can be at this point. But here's the key to this. The reason that I'm bringing up this story is I never felt worthy of receiving true love, like unconditional, beautiful movie romance love. Like it just never felt. I came from a family, and I'm not throwing shade at my family, but this is a fact. Everybody was divorced. There was lots of infidelity and craziness and you name it. There was never that Beaver Cleaver. I used to watch Leave It to Beaver all the time. I dreamed of that being my life. There was none of that in my life.
Yeah.
So there was a part of me that did not feel worthy of that. And I
Right.
never knew that until I decided this is what I want. And this is what I'm going to get. And this is what I'm worthy of receiving. And if it doesn't come, that's okay. But this is what I want. And this is what I'm worthy of. And literally it came in 2 seconds. And that's when it clued me in. Wait a minute. There was always a piece that I was missing. You could ask all day. We could all ask for the things we want. We're really good at asking. In contrast, actually helps us to ask. When stuff happens that we don't want, it leads us to what we do want. So contrast
Yeah.
isn't a bad thing. The problem is we have so much resistance and so many blocks, limiting beliefs, baggage, trauma, you name it, standing in the way. That's the middle piece. So when people say, I'm not good at manifesting or I can't manifest, what it says to me is there's something standing in the way. So my job is to help them not get into, digging deep into their past, but let's figure out what it is. Because clearly there's something standing in your way. Otherwise, you'd have the thing. So let's
Right.
try to figure out what that is. Now, when I do coaching, I like to bring different modalities. EFT tapping is my favorite. And what I feel is it brings in kind of that somatic release and starts helping your body heal. Because when you're just rehashing, if I say to you, let's try to figure out what's blocking, and you start now telling me all of your traumas in your past, you may be re-traumatizing right here. You're feeling all the things. Your body doesn't feel safe. Here we are back at point A again, right? So when I bring in these different modalities with my coaching clients, I'm helping them feel safe in their body, rewire the way they feel about the memories. So now they could move forward and actually receive the manifestation they've asked for. Because we have to feel worthy of receiving. If we don't feel worthy of receiving, it is never going to happen. And if it does, you're going to upper limit yourself somewhere and you're going to knock it right back down. So there's that middle in manifesting. And that's why I shared the story of my husband, is because I never felt worthy. I didn't. I know that I did. I could tell by my relationships, right? Never felt worthy of that kind of love. And then when I suddenly, something shifted in me and I started really kind of feeling like I could stand on my own. I don't even need anybody. But if I did, I'd love for them to add value. And I started seeing my worth. And it came so quick, it almost hit me in the face. So that's when I realized. So again, I'm in my 40s now. So this was a long time ago. I discovered it pretty early that there was that piece in the middle where you had to actually feel worthy of receiving the thing you're asking for in order for it to come. And that's what I like to really work on with people.
And that piece in the middle you're talking about is how I've heard it described as like really believing that it's possible for you. But in order to believe it's possible for you, you have to feel worthy of it, right? So those two things seem to be very like intimately linked. And you had a moment where it just shifted, obviously, and were you fully aware when you were like, that's it, this is what I want, and I'm writing it down. If it comes, it comes, and if it doesn't, I'm fine. Did you also realize that all along you hadn't felt worthy of it, or was that something that you kind of understood in retrospect?
A little bit in retrospect, but there was a shift. Now, again, if we're going to reference like movies, like I said before, this was a movie moment. If that moment of me in the kitchen was a movie moment, it would have been like a lightning bolt would have struck, or like the light bulb would have went on over my head. I felt some shift. I don't know if I could have articulated what it was, but something felt different. I felt more powerful. I felt more confident for some reason. I don't know if it came with my age. I don't know if it came with where I was in life. I don't know what it came with, but I definitely felt an internal shift, which then made me feel like I could almost put my shoulders back a little, like, no, I feel pretty confident right now. I don't even know why. But then later in retrospect, I looked back and said, oh my goodness, that component of whatever that was, I don't really know what that was the catalyst to all of these interesting things happening. And the other thing I want to throw in there too is think about what I said. I was late. My final ran over late that day, which I was very upset about. Our setbacks, most of the time, are setups, by the way. I just want to throw that in there. So when you're manifesting and things feel like they're kind of getting bumpy along the path or things are getting in your way, that was something getting in my way. I was going to be late. I didn't want to be late. I almost didn't stop for lunch because I was late. But all these things kind of happened in order to get me in the right place. Because, like I said, he was leaving as I was walking in. The timing, we had no mutual friends. We did not live in the same town. He had already graduated college. I was, different schools. It was just the timing was perfect. So going back to the believing and trusting that you are being supported, even when it feels like we're not, that's another big piece to manifestation. You hear the word faith, and again, nothing to do with religion. Faith meaning believing and trusting in something that you can't see. In this case, it's trusting the universe has my back, you
Yeah.
know?
And that's really hard. That piece is really, really hard. And it's also a surrender, faith and surrender.
Yeah.
I put those two together because when things don't seem like they're going the way you want them to go in big and small ways, you have to have faith that the universe has your back, but also to surrender to what is, right? Because in the present moment, it is what it is. Like you cannot change it. And the more you fight against it, you're really just fighting against the universe trying to have your back. And I also love how you said, um, when you were talking about like, I'm tired of these relationships, whatever, this is what I deserve. You could have gone one of two ways. The way that you went, which was obviously the preferred, I think, way.
Yeah.
Or you could have shut down and been like, that's it. I am done with relationships. Men suck. I can't do this anymore. Right. And kind of cut yourself off. But instead, you took your power, but also left yourself wide open for
Yeah.
the possibility, wide open for the possibility of what could come your way. And that's a huge difference, right? That's a very fine line, but a huge energetic difference that we all have to be aware of when we're in those circumstances where there is something that we desire in our life. Maybe it's not happening, or maybe life is being lifey, as I like to call it.
I like
That
that.
we don't, instead of shutting down, like, and to me, that's like a folding over into yourself, you kind of open up and like heart chakra forward, like allowing to be what it is. So that's awesome.
Thank you.
There was also something else you said that I wanted to pull out, and now I totally forgot what it is, which is frequent. My poor listeners, this happens to me on a regular basis.
Welcome to my world. That happens all the time.
All the time. So how did you then start figuring that out? Or how do people, because a lot of times what's going on in our head, like you mentioned, we're manifesting all the time, right? And so we're either manifesting the things we desire or manifesting maybe things that we don't desire, which when I first heard that concept, I was a little bit like, oh, well, that's rude. So what you're telling me is all these things in my life I don't like they're my fault. Like that's what you're telling me. This is my fault. So how do you get around that for people who may come in and be a little annoyed at this idea?
Yeah. I like to reframe it and say, what a powerful, you're so powerful. You can literally create whatever you want. And when you're creating things you don't want, you're not doing it consciously. You're not doing it intentionally. I always say, why would anyone create a life they don't want on purpose? I don't think that for a second. So you can take that out of the equation, never insinuating the bad things or the negative things in your life that you don't want, never saying you chose to come into this reality and have these things happen. I don't think that at all. I think that a lot of times if we're in a fear-based mentality, which most of us are. We're fed that daily, which is another reason why I stopped doing advertising, by the way. No offense to any advertising people listening to this, but I learned that in order to really be an effective advertising campaign, a lot of times they're playing on very strong emotions, which usually are fear-based, right? Fear that if you don't have the thing, blah, 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 right? That was my experience, at least. Maybe that's not everyone's experience. So if you're going back to what I said earlier about everything being energy, taking your personality, your cattiness out of the equation, you're just a ball of energy. That's all you are, right? If you're a ball of energy called fear, that's the energy that you're attracting more. Now, not saying, somebody asked me once, so if you mean to tell me that if I'm fearful that I'm going to get cancer, I'm going to manifest cancer? That is not what I'm saying. If you're fearful and you're fearful of manifesting illness of any kind, whatever it is, you're operating at the energy of fear. So more things in that energetic space, not necessarily the thing you're scared of, just more things in that energetic space are actually attracted to your energy. Again, not saying anything to do with your personality, your good, bad, or indifferent, just from a molecular, scientific, energy, atomy, all of that perspective. That is what is coming together. So for instance, if you're somebody who's kind of grumpy and you wake up and you're just like, oh, today sucks, right? You wake up. Don't be surprised if you stub your toe, you spill your coffee, you get stuck in every red light, because that's the energy you're at. So you're going to experience more of that because that's the station you're dialed into right now. Abraham Hicks talks about the radio stations all the time. They all exist, all of them. You only hear the one you turn to. So if you're turned to fear, yes, you will definitely manifest things of the energy of fear, which if you look at an energetic scale, fear is a lower energy. Again, this has no personal attack on you. The universe doesn't not like you and likes her better. None of that. So it's saying if you're having an experience that isn't what you like, we have to try to shift our focus on focusing what it is we don't like. And we have to somehow, whatever way works for you, start focusing on what we like, because that's going to start changing the vibration. Once your vibration's different, your experience is going to start being different. So to go back to what you're saying, I've had so many people say exactly what you said. They get a little annoyed. Well, what do you mean? You're telling me no, I'm not telling you that. If that's how you want to receive it, then that's a you thing, but that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, as the ball of energy that you are, if this is how you're vibrating, you will then bring in more similar energy, period, plain and simple. That's what it is. So with that being said, the reframe of that is, well, wait a minute, I could change all of that. Yes, you can. How cool is that? You have the power to change anything, anytime. You are so powerful. If you can create one thing, then that means you can create anything. If you can create one thing, you have just proved to yourself, even if you've created something bad, I say bad in air quotes because nothing's good, bad. It's if you've created something good, bad, or indifferent, you've just proved to yourself you're a creator. Well, then that means you can create anything you want. In the book, Infinite Possibilities by Mike Dooley, really builds on that. There are infinite possibilities at all times. Our human brains only understand what we understand based on past, based on what we know, based on what we've been told. But when we bring in this quantum idea of infinite possibilities, we realize we could reframe a negative thing by saying, oh my God, instead of getting mad at somebody who just insinuated I created this, they just told me I'm a creator. Whoa, I'm a creator. Oh my God, what else could I create? Just that excitement energy starts shifting. That's it. So I always tell people, if you're focusing on the problem, you're breathing life into the problem, right? Some people obviously will focus on a problem because it feels very present in their life. If you could learn to make very small shifts, I always say, don't try to make leaps because you might get discouraged. Try to make a small shift. If you could say, the reason I want to manifest XYZ is because it's going to make me feel really happy. Perfect. Okay. Tell me what in your life right now makes you really happy. You told me you had to pick your dog up today. You have a dog. You might say, my dog makes me so happy. Perfect. Put a memory of your dog in your joy catalog. Now, anytime you're starting to tank a little with your energy, Pull that memory out of your joy catalog. Start raising your energy once again, right? So we all have the ability to shift our emotional state because our thoughts create our emotions. What we think about creates the way that we feel. So knowing that we are creators should be the bigger focus versus getting annoyed that somebody insinuated maybe that you're not manifesting good things into your life. I say reframing is my favorite tool of all tools. It's an easy tool to use, but it takes a lot of practice. I will not lie. It takes a lot of practice. But once you're good at it, you're a reframing master and your entire life looks totally different. It's really exciting.
That is, and I agree with you. Reframing is really difficult because we have certain neural pathways, right? They get really dug in there, and then we really have to practice to kind of come out of those ruts and create new neural pathways. But you're right. The more you do it, the better you get, the stronger that new neural pathway becomes, and the easier it becomes to do these things. But the practice. I say that all the time on the show. I'm like, everything I present to you, like this is not a one and doneer. Like this is a practice over and over and over again. And the more you practice, the better you'll get. The more time I would assume that you're spending, if the more you practice this, the more time you're spending in a higher vibration and the smaller amount of time you're spending in a lower vibration. That doesn't mean that you're never going to be in that lower vibration. It means that you might recognize sooner that you're in the lower vibration and get out of it faster. Yeah. But we are human and we do have the full span of emotions, and we should have the full span of emotions. But you're right, this gives us the power. This gives us so much power to bring awareness to where we are and then make a shift if that's what we desire.
And the other thing you just said, and that's a really good point, we have this whole span of emotions and they all have a time and a place.
Right.
And that's the other thing, going back to things are not good or bad. You know, certain emotions are very necessary. When my mom passed away, I did not feel any of the emotions I needed to feel because her death coincided with my son's birth. And I went into a very strange place at that time and bottled it all up. And then, 10 months later, I found out I was pregnant again, had my daughter. All of this kind of compounded, and I did not mourn her properly till 3 years after her passing. So I wish that I experienced this gamut of emotions, right? These emotions are very necessary. The problem with manifesting is sometimes people get stuck at a certain emotion, don't know how to move past it, and just chronically live in that emotion. So all their focus and energy is there. And I try to help people, especially with EFT tapping, you never want to forget the memory because our memories are who we are. They're good, bad, or indifferent. They're who we are, right? But we don't want the emotional charge to debilitate us any longer. We want our body to feel safe. We want to stop re-traumatizing every time we have a memory. So when we start doing that, we start gaining our emotional freedom, right? Emotional freedom techniques. And we start feeling different. We start feeling more powerful, and we're able to implement other strategies into our growth. And over time, we can become super powerful manifestors. But like you just said, it takes time, right? If people are willing to put in the work, you could literally achieve anything. I have seen the most amazing feats happen before my eyes. I know how powerful we all are. I think sometimes we forget because we're spiritual and yet we are human. Our human mind, I think, forgets sometimes how miraculous we truly are. I mean, a lot of people, I talk about miracles a lot. I love miracles. I love reading stories of radical transformations and radical recoveries and all of this. But I say sometimes, yeah, those are great. But just if you want to experience a miracle, just look in the mirror. The fact that you're here is miraculous. The fact that your body does what it needs to do is miraculous. Miracles are all around us. So kind of getting a little playful with your energy when you're moving through this, I feel like helps lessen your resistance a little bit too, or at least that has worked for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I love the idea of play, and we talk about that a lot too. And I feel like play allows you to be in that higher vibration and it allows the non-attachment piece, right? Where you're not holding on so tightly to it. You're just playing with it. So the outcome, I don't want to say it doesn't matter, but it doesn't feel like the outcome is so dire or so serious. It feels like you're just in the moment. You're just playing and enjoying in the moment. And yes, you would love this outcome, but you're more focused on the moment that you're experiencing right now. Would you say that's an accurate way to describe it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I
Yeah.
think play is so important. Again, I'm going to reference Abraham Hicks again. Some people know her as Esther Hicks. She talks about the way you feel matters, period.
Yeah.
Because the way you feel is your point of vibration, similar to what I said before. If you're a ball of energy, that is the frequency in which you're attracting, vibrating being, right?
Yeah.
So the way you feel truly matters. So play is fun, right?
Right.
Play. When we were kids, oh my God, I had the best
Right.
time. I don't know about you, but I'd go
Yeah, I
outside. I'd be
did.
outside
Yeah.
all day. It was so fun,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Then we become adults and suddenly no one has fun anymore. What the heck is that
Yeah.
about, right?
Yeah.
So the idea of bringing play into even just our ideas into our day, it frees up your energy a little. It takes you out of that box that we're so used to being in and it brings in that idea of, well, what if, there was
Mhm.
an exercise I did with some coaching clients where they were saying before bed, they get really worried. They start rehashing their day and ruminating. So what about if you did a what if exercise before bed? What if I had the best sleep of my life? What if tomorrow I wake up and I feel amazing? What if, and you could just go on and on and on. Why
Yeah.
not? That's a possibility too.
Right.
But our brains don't tend to go that way. I mean, and you know as well as
Yeah.
I do, the negativity bias is
Yep.
hardwired in us. We
Yes.
err on the side of caution. And at one point, that was due to survival. Nowadays, we don't need to do that as much,
Mhm.
but we still do. So I think play is really important for manifestation because manifestation depends on how you feel. And if how
Yeah.
you feel is scared and fearful and nervous and upset, that is what you are vibrating at. And again, this is not, and I hope everyone who is listening realizes this is coming from a place of love. I am not pointing fingers. I'm not telling anybody, you're
Yeah.
doing the wrong thing. I'm just saying I had to become aware of this. I operated from a place of fear since I was a small kid. I always had anxiety. I literally lived in a state of static, crazy energy. I was sick all the time, all the time. My grandmother said to me once, and it was so embarrassing, kind of. I don't know why I got embarrassed, but she said, I have never met a kid in my life that has more stomach aches than you. When she said that, I was like, oh God, people notice this? I was
Yeah.
always the girl who couldn't go here. I was out of school because I was sick. I was always sick, but it was always my anxiety all the time. And when the
Yeah.
doctors would try to tell me that, because I had every test known to man run on me over
Yes.
and over and over again. And they would come back at me with this word, and I would be so offended. Like, how dare they? I'm dying and they don't know that. I was so mad,
Yeah.
livid. How do
Yeah.
these people not realize this? Are they idiots? What is going on? I'm dying. And it destroyed my life for the longest time. I operated from a place of fear. So there's no wonder that I was now going back to what I said, I wasn't consciously doing that. I wasn't
Mhm.
deliberately doing that. So I want everyone listening to give yourself love, compassion, and grace. We're all doing the best we can with what we have at
Mhm.
the time, right?
Mhm.
None of us are doing any of this to hurt ourselves. Truly, we're not.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of deciding, I'm going to start looking into this. It might not be
Mhm.
comfortable. I'm going to look into it. I'm going to see what I could do. I'm going to give myself grace along the way. I'm going to try some things, see if they work. Giving yourself that grace is really important because we are so hard on ourselves. And people go exactly to what you said before of, well, is this insinuating that I'm doing this? That's what people go to. It's that kind of defense mechanism, like, wait a minute, no,
Mhm.
that's not what it is. But it is saying that we are creating our reality and our outer and inner worlds are direct reflections. One other quick thing I wanted to say that I forgot to say in the beginning when I was talking about coaching and everything is also right before 2020 and during it, I did all my certifications for integrated energy therapy, which is very similar to Reiki, but it's working on an angelic realm. It's
Mhm.
beautiful. Since I was little, I've always been very connected to angels. So when I heard of this modality, I knew it was for me. So I went through levels 1, 2, 3 and master level, and it was beautiful. Loved it. Healing, beautiful. And then 2020 rolls around. We're not leaving the house. And I had a hip surgery scheduled 2 months after the world shut down. I actually just found the paperwork in my office the other day. Scheduled at Penn. My hip was a disaster and the world shut down. So all elective surgeries went away.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
what was I going to do about it? So what I decided to do was I did IET on myself every day. I had nothing else to do. I was home all day every day. And then every Saturday, with the woman who taught me master level, she would do an online forum for all master level instructors where we did it with her and her partner. So I was doing it every day and I was doing with them on Saturdays. We're in 2024 now for whoever's listening. I have never had the surgery. I am perfectly fine. I'm going to
Whoa.
knock on wood when I say this.
Hey,
Not by any means telling anyone don't go to doctors, don't. I'm not saying that.
yes.
Saying in my case, I had no choice. I could not have the surgery. The
Yeah.
world shut down and that was not an option any longer. And because I was in pain, I thought, well, what can I do? I can't see other humans. I can't do anything else. I'll do this. And I had the intention to heal. I believed
Yeah.
it was possible and I did it. I would have
Yeah.
never in a million years even said that that was a possibility before that happened to
Yes.
me. And I still
Yes.
have a hard time believing it. And it happened to me. So
Yeah.
I don't necessarily, I'm not saying that everybody has, the ability to heal every single thing. Maybe certain things are part of our soul's purpose. I don't know. I don't know anyone's soul's purpose, and I could never say. We all come here for a reason. We may not even know what it is. I feel like we
Hmm.
know when we come, we know when we're leaving. Our ripple effect leaves a lot, right? Even if
Hmm.
people are here for a very short period of time, there was a reason they chose to incarnate here. They might
Hmm.
have had a reason that they left. I don't know. I don't know any of that. But all I know is in this situation, I myself, and I'm shocked. I'm just as shocked as you are. I never, I couldn't believe it, but it was my only option. So I tried it. Tried
Yeah.
it with me. What the hey? We'll see. It
Yeah.
can't hurt. I know that it can't
Again,
hurt.
here goes the
Right?
play, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Play with the
literally
release of outcome.
that's
Yeah.
exactly what it was. There was
Yeah.
no outcome. It was just like, well, let's see what happens. This should, it was super relaxing every day to do it. Sat in my office. I turned all the lights down. I got really quiet. Sometimes I'd put meditation music on. And then on the Saturday ones, they would guide me through it. Here I am connecting with angels when I'm doing. I mean, it was beautiful. It was a beautiful
Yeah.
practice. And yeah, I mean, here we are 4 years later. I've never went back. I've never had it. I don't know. I don't
And
know.
you have no pain. Have
I
you
have no
had
pain. Perfectly
images?
fine.
Have you had imaging done?
Not since, but I
Not
have the
since. Okay.
original imaging and there was tons of things. There was a labral tear, there was a cam lesion, there was osteoarthritis, there was a cyst. There was so many things in this
Wow.
very small area. It was unbelievable. They did a contrast MRI and then they put it up to show us and they showed. And the one thing that freaked me out the most was they said on the area that had the hole, they were going to put a piece of cadaver bone or something.
Mhm.
But ooh, that seems creepy. I don't know if I want so I remember I was a little apprehensive to even go into this thing, but then it never happened. And
Right.
now, so I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't,
I don't familiar with the work of Joe Dispenza.
yes, I love to
Yes,
spend that.
yes. So, I mean, he talks about this as well, that
Yeah,
basically the mind can heal the body, like that,
yeah,
that you can basically, I guess, reorient your mind to allow healing to happen in the body because your mind is so powerful that it affects your cells and how your cells operate and function and all that, and then and the energetics as well, all the energy that is required to do that. But and speaking of powerful, I wanted to say this earlier, but we were talking about being conscious creators and that we can do that. That's also really scary. Like
yeah,
sometimes the thought of that is actually very scary. That, okay, what could I do with this, right? Like, what could I actually manifest? If I do, what does that mean for my life, for my relationships? Like, how will things change? Am I worthy?
yeah,
Can I step up into this new level of life? Like, and then I think once you start feeling the fear, then it's like, oh, now I can't, it blocks the manifestation because
yeah.
you're back to the fear.
Yep.
So how do you get past that? How do you,
You brought up such a good point. And when I mentioned before about upper limiting, that's from a book called The Big Leap with Gay Hendricks. He references that idea where you might manifest something, right? You might get past your blocks and all your things. You might even get it. But like you just said, if you don't feel worthy of it, you're not keeping it. So it's like a thermostat in a house. If you set it to a certain temperature and the house starts rising, it knocks it back down. So say for instance, you're saying, I make $100,000 a year and I want to make 200. Well, bam, you get a raise and you're making 200. Well, there's a part of you that doesn't feel worthy of making the 200. So subconsciously, we, again, not knowing it, not intentionally, we're not worthy of receiving the 200K. We need to get back down to where it's comfy, more at the 100K level. Same thing goes with romance and love. I want this beautiful relationship. Then you get it. You don't even feel worthy of this love. Somehow now you go and unconsciously and not intentionally,
Mhm.
maybe do something to mess it up, right?
Right.
So there lies the problem. We need to do the work. We have to go within. That's why I love coaching so much. I could scream it from the rooftops. This is my favorite thing to do, and I can't believe this is my job. It's It's crazy that I get to do this for a living, right? When I did therapy, I've done therapy, I've done coaching, I've done all the things. I've been on both sides of, these types of things. And I think that with something like coaching, you're getting tools and modalities as well as the talk version. Now, some therapists incorporate that as well, but I've worked with some that did not. Straight up talk therapy. I felt like I was re-traumatized. When I work with clients, we try to transmute the energy that's in between what you want and getting the thing. There's something in between. We need to somehow transmute that energy. Sometimes it's a matter of, going back in for a minute, finding what the block was and working through it. It could be breath work. It could be meditation. My go-to is always EFT tapping. I have seen phenomenal change. I mean, I can't even stress to you enough. That modality is so underrated. It's so effective. It's so fast. There are zero side effects. It blows my mind. If you watch TV in the evening ever and you see the slew of medicines they pump into
Yeah.
Americans, the
Yeah.
side effects are this long. Then you take EFT tapping, which has zero, and you tell someone to do it, and they say, "Oh, that looks weird. I don't want to do that. That's weird." Because you're tapping on and you're thinking, you should
Yeah.
try it. I promise it will do something, right? So the answer to that is you have to do the work. You have to find something that's going to help you move that energy within the what you want and what you're going to receive, because there's something in between there that's blocking you from keeping it, right? Is it a worthiness thing? Is it something that happened in your past that you're holding on to, and in your body it doesn't even feel safe to have the thing you claim you want to manifest? Because if that's the case, you're going to subconsciously sabotage the manifestation. You don't want to do that.
Yeah.
So working with somebody, or even if you want to do it on your own, I don't know. I mean, some people do miraculous things on their own. It's something about coming home to you. I always tell people, tapping, you're pointing at the one person who actually has any control over helping you, and it's you,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You're pointing right at her. So it's a matter of coming home to you to figure out you've got the goods. You just have to trust it. You have to. It's not very comfortable to do that. I'm not going to lie. There's certain things that people have buried very, very deep. I've had people say to me in sessions, I've never even said that out loud before. And I've heard that 1,000 times. Those are the things we need to lovingly pull out, forgive, release, and that's the way we're able to move forward, because manifestation is truly aligning with the thing that you want. Period.
Yeah.
That's all it
Yeah.
is aligning your frequency with the frequency of the thing. So I tell people, if whatever it is you want, what's the feeling that's associated with that? Like I said before, that thing's going to make me happy. Perfect. Let's start practicing now, feeling happy, because you
Yeah.
know how to feel happy. So why don't you start practicing that every single day? If you tell me doing yoga makes you happy, perfect. Make sure you do that several times a week. You
Yeah.
want to practice the vibration that it is that you're looking for, because the thing
Mhm.
you're looking for, you're only looking for it because you believe it's going to give you something. What's the
Mhm.
thing? What's that feeling? Well, you
Yeah.
can start feeling that feeling now, but the thing that's holding you back from keeping that requires work. It
Yeah.
does. And a lot of people don't want to hear that. They think that there's like a magic pill, right? The work
Right.
doesn't have to be awful. My work, I don't feel like what I did with myself was awful. I felt it was very introspective. There was parts of it that were fun, parts of it that were cathartic. I wasn't mad at it, you know. It was a little long, I'm not gonna lie, a little long,
Right.
but it wasn't horrible. Oh, and I feel great.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. No, all the internal work. I mean, yeah, there are parts that are hard, but
Yeah.
there are also parts that are magical and wonderful and fun. But then when you kind of break through something, then you're like, holy cow, this is next level. Then you get the bug. That's what I call it. Like you get the internal work bug, because you're like, if I could feel this much better, how much better could I feel? Let me try this next thing, because there's always another level to level up into. But I want to go back to the EFT tapping, because I am curious how you do this. So let's say someone comes to you and they're like, I want a partner, right? I've been trying for years. I have all these terrible relationships, blah, blah, blah.
Mhm.
And I'm trying to be like, what's that represent to you? Okay, love maybe, and happiness, right? Okay, I'm trying to experience love and live in this vibration of love and happiness, but that thing is still not showing up for me.
Yeah.
Then you go to EM, and then you say, okay, what do you think's holding you back from getting that thing? And they're like, ah.
That's usually the answer. Yep.
Like, I have no idea. When you go into the EFT tapping, does that start to like come out? Like after they go through that, the tapping, do they then say, "Oh my gosh, I think it's
So
X."
we start with a little bit of a consultation, right? When we come in, say somebody says that, we'll start talking. We'll do like a little intake kind of and get some feedback on them of what they think is happening. They might say, every time I'm in a relationship, it always ends with the guy being such a jerk. Stop right there. We're going to tap on that. Even though I always date jerks, I love, accept, and forgive myself. God, all these jerks I date, every single guy I date is a jerk. And we're going through the points while we're saying what they just told me. As they're saying these things, and tapping sends calming signals to the amygdala of your brain. So it's shutting down the fight or flight response. It's letting your body be calm. So you're saying the things that would typically trigger you. Like if you really were dating jerks all the time and you're saying that out loud, you'd probably start feeling like, "Ugh." But now you're saying it and you're calm. So suddenly you're able to gain clarity around that. So as you're tapping on all of these things, the clarity that you're creating, the space you're creating is allowing. They might come in with, this last guy, reminded me of my dad. He was such a jerk. Okay, stop right there for a minute. Even though this last guy reminded me of my dad, do you see what I'm saying? And we're going to keep dissecting. And it all goes by what they're telling me. I'm just really good at pulling the things. So
Right.
I'm in this emotional investigator, listening to every single thing they're saying, pulling out the aspects that I believe are bringing you around. So when you're starting with tapping, we might start over here with every guy I date is a jerk. We might end completely somewhere else. And in between all of that, all these aha moments popped up. They've transmuted all this energy. Their body feels safe now with what they said. They gained so much clarity. It is so transformative. And things pop up that they say, I can't even believe that that would even be connected to that. I never thought in a million years. I never realized this pattern stemmed from blah, blah, blah. Like the moments, the aha moments I watch, because we do it on Zoom, right? I watch the faces, the eyes get big, the fingers go up, and I'm like, yes. And when you're tapping with somebody, all of the releases they're having, there's lots of yawning, there's lots of crying, unfortunately, sometimes not sobbing. Sometimes it's just, lots of laughing at very bizarre times, which they don't understand. I'm like, no, no, go with it. It's good. Keep going. Some people belch, some people, they start moving around. I tell them this is all perfect because you have to keep in mind whatever emotion you have, picture it like that movie. What's the movie with all the emotions? Inside Out,
Inside
right?
Out.
Picture your emotions as things living inside you. They're there. Whether you realize it or not, they're there. And if you want them gone, you need to start moving them. You need to start letting them know it's okay. You can move around. We want to get you out pretty much. So all of these releases that they're having is that kind of that energy moving. So the session, I feel like, looks like a roadmap. It starts one place, ends somewhere, usually completely not related, but in the map, they figure out exactly what they needed to figure out. I mean, obviously I can't talk about coaching sessions, but some of the breakthroughs have been so profound. I'm speechless at times because again, we find the aspects that are the true problems, not what they originally said. There's something deeper. And the reason tapping works so much is, like I said, it's allowing the body to calm down. So when you're just talking to someone, you say, what do you think the problem is? I don't know. I don't know. They're completely shut off. They're not even, when their body feels so calm and peaceful, they have all this space. They have this clarity. Everything is different in that space. It's almost like, hypnotherapy does a similar thing where it's got you in this really relaxed state. You're feeling very different. So a tapping session, what my teacher always said is to be terrific, you have to be specific. So I don't like tapping on big, broad topics. We need to pull it down. Give me a piece, right? There's lots of different techniques within tapping. It's called emotional freedom techniques. It's plural. So depending on what you come to me with, if you're someone with extreme trauma, we're going to keep you away from what it is. We're going to still tap, but we're going to do it in a very different way. It's called tearless trauma, right? If you're somebody who has a specific incident, we might use, the movie technique or tell the story technique. If you're somebody who starts elevating and I see you're getting really stressed, I want to stop. We might just do touch and breathe. We're going to bring you back down again, right? There's a 9 gamut point. We might do that. That's similar to like EMDR, where it has eye movement stuff with the tapping. Working with an EFT practitioner versus I have a YouTube channel that's got 8 billion tapping videos, and I
Hmm.
suggest everyone go check it out. But if you have real issues that you really are serious about clearing,
Hmm.
working with a practitioner is golden. It truly is. It's
Yeah.
amazing. And I can't say enough about it. It's just
Yeah.
it really helps you transmute the energy, changes the way you feel about the memory. It allows you the space and clarity. And it's profound is really the
Yeah.
one word that I could really sum it up with.
And what it sounds like you're saying is almost like a peeling of an onion. Like
Yeah.
they come in saying this one thing, and then they go through a tapping, and then they're like, oh, and then they go through a tapping, and they're like, oh, and like each one is getting them closer to the center of the core of the
Yes.
issue, right? Is that,
Yes.
yeah, yeah,
That is such a great analogy, and I love that analogy, and that is true. Every aspect is peeling back that layer of the onion, and many times there's many aspects.
yeah,
They think it's this one thing, right? And then they realize, oh my goodness, within that one thing, there were 5 different aspects.
yeah,
And it's peeling back the layer of an onion. And sometimes that's what's required to move you through. But
yeah,
then they also get the benefit. Here's another great thing with tapping. Like I mentioned earlier, as a kid, I had bad anxiety. If I had this modality as a kid, rather than working with like the aspects and the traumas and all, you could in the moment bring an anxiety attack down by
hmm,
tapping.
hmm,
There's a video on YouTube by Dr. Love this video. She puts these neurofeedback bands around her head and gives a presentation, and she starts tapping on the points. They're the acupuncture and acupressure points, meridians of our body, right? She's tapping on the meridian points, and on the screen, all the brainwaves start going down slowly,
wow,
right
that's
before everyone's
crazy.
eyes. I gave a presentation once to a group of people that were mainly older men, which is not typically my demographic. And I had a feeling EFT tapping was going to be a hard sell for them because it wasn't the group that I normally talk to. So I took Dr. Peta's video and put it just to show the quick blurb so they could see this is actually having a physiological effect on your body.
Yeah,
So if you don't want to work with a practitioner, you just want a tool that in a quick second you could bring your emotions down, you could
yeah,
bring your anxiety down. You could do that. It's super
yeah,
easy, super effective. So I wish I had this tool as a kid. I wish
yeah.
that this was talked about more as a kid, but I get to do it now. I get to
Right.
talk about it now to people. My own kids, my daughter, I tap with her all the time. So it's something that could, like you said, peel back the layers, get to the aspects, actually make a dent in what it is you're working on versus just chasing your tail all around all day going, I don't know, right? Because
Yeah,
that's what we all say. We don't know. And consciously, we probably don't know. It's
yeah,
getting to that core and getting to those aspects that really helps you.
yeah. That's really fascinating. Really fascinating. Well, next question. What about, so we're talking about manifestation. We're saying, we attracts like, kind of like where our energy is, that's what we bring into our life. But what about those things that seem like the example you gave that your mom was really sick? Like, were you manifesting that? Or was that, how does that work? That's a point of confusion for me, right? These
Yeah.
things that come into our lives that are really challenging, are we manifesting them? Because then are we in co-creation with the person who's experiencing them? Like, were you in co-creation with your mom and manifesting that illness? Or are there certain things that come into our life that are not a result of our manifestation? They're a result of somebody else's manifestation that then impact our lives.
Yeah, the latter on that one. So with my mom, her situation, she said to me without saying to me, with that statement of look at disease is dis-ease, right? She, to me, when I read between the lines, was insinuating that she felt she played a role in what was going on and she was almost sorry. And that, I mean, again, very intuitive. She didn't even have to say the words. I understood where she was going with this. She was almost apologizing for disastrous life, which did not need an apology, but I think she felt very responsible in a way, not
Mhm.
consciously responsible, but inadvertently kind of, responsible.
Right.
But what you just said about co-creating, watching my mom go through what she went through is what made me become this powerful manifester. Truly.
Mhm.
Like I said before, we learn in the contrast. My mother was my greatest teacher. Truly, she
Mhm.
really was. Now, I'm not saying I wish that life on anybody. I know she didn't want that life, but that experience, because I feel we learn from every experience, the experience of my mom and I's co-creation, I'm able to live her legacy that I know she wanted to leave because we did co-create, because I learned it from the contrast. What I didn't want is what brought me to what I do want. My mom never had a good relationship. I wanted the best relationship. My mom never even owned a home. Of course, I wanted to own a home. I have my home, right? She never owned a business. I have my own business. I looked at what she was doing and realized, because we were so close and because we were co-creators, it actually helped me manifest my life. This may not be coming out how thinking of it in my head. I get really hard articulating things sometimes. But what I'm trying to say is you really don't have any control over someone else's manifestation, right? You can't manifest for somebody else, period. Somebody's manifestation is their own. The co-creation part comes with who you share space with. So there is a little bit of a dance there, but you're not responsible for anybody's manifestation ever, and they're not responsible for yours. You can always send people love and good vibes, and you could do that. That's beautiful, right? That's energy is energy, and we could do that. But everybody has their own soul's purpose. We don't know what it is. And everybody's being here creates a ripple effect, or better known as a butterfly effect, right? So we never have to worry about somebody else's soul's purpose because we have no control over it. We never will. Doesn't matter how hard we worry. This is hard for us moms, right? You're a mom, I'm a mom. I could tell you right now, I was such a worrier with my kids. And I finally realized one day, if we look at worry as energy, which it is, it's completely on the other end of the spectrum of when you pray for somebody or you send love for somebody, right? Worry is not that. If you look at an energetic scale, worry is down at the bottom, love is at the top. So when we love somebody, we feel like we have to worry for them. But that's not sending anything benefit. It's not hurting them, but it's not sending anything helpful to them. So going back to what you said, we have no control over someone's manifestations. My mom's manifestation of all of her problems, I believe, came from her life. I truly do. I don't want to get into her life, but however bad you could think, it was 10 times worse than that, right? So I'm not surprised, to be honest, how her life turned out. I'm really not, because she was never able to get past the horror that happened in her life.
Yeah.
Myself, on the other hand, experienced her life, peripherally, but I think because her and I were co-creating, she was feeding me with statements like, look at this word, Jillian, don't live this word. She was feeding me through the contrast of what she was experiencing, which was then moving me in a different direction. I feel like we have to let ourselves off the hook. People in our lives, you have no control over their manifestation. You could have 5 kids, every single one of them is going to turn out completely different. You have literally zero control over anything in that regard because their soul came here for a purpose. We don't know what it is. We were just the conduits to kind of help them come through, right? And that's a really hard pill to swallow because as moms, I feel like we take a lot of stock, a lot of inventory in what our kids are doing as a reflection of us, right? And I realized that nobody else's actions has done anything in regard to my manifestation, and mine aren't going to do anything to anyone else's. So everybody is manifesting on their own. And when people manifest things in their life that aren't good, sometimes, and this may sound crazy, and you got to really think about this for a minute, get expansive. I'm going to give a disclaimer. Everyone get really expansive for a minute, right? There's a children's book called The Little Soul in the Sun, and it's by Neil Donald Walsh, who wrote Conversations with God. And a very brief synopsis of this is this little soul wants to come forward and incarnate here. But the emotion he wants to experience, I believe, is forgiveness. I read this a long time ago, but I think it was forgiveness. Another little soul comes forward and says to him, because I love you so much, I'll come with you and I'll do whatever the thing is you need me to do so you could experience forgiveness. But know that I love you so much and I'm only doing this because I want to help you. So I look at it sometimes where we don't know what people's souls came here to experience, right?
Right.
It could be I thought of this with my mom in terms of my mom. My mom never felt supported because she never had a good husband. She never had family members and this may sound crazy. And again, please be expansive with this idea, but this is something I played with. Her illness manifested a support team that I can't even wrap my head around. These doctors and nurses, and even the hospice at the end, were so supportive. They loved her. They came
Yeah.
to her funeral.
Wow.
So I was looking at it like, I know this sounds crazy to some people. I know some people listening to this probably can't wrap their head around this. We come to manifest things into our life, whatever they are, experiences, feelings, things. We never say, oh, they're going to happen, right?
Mhm.
She
Mhm.
solely wanted to be supported. She really did. I know she did. She never
Mhm.
was. During her illness, she always was. We lived in Connecticut at the time, Yale New Haven Hospital. Big shout out to them. They were amazing. They loved her step of the way. She knew these people's grandkids and their kids, and they shared photos. She
Yeah.
gained the support. Now, I'm not saying she wanted to be sick. Of course, she didn't want to be sick. But what I'm
Mhm.
trying to say with that book I just said and this, there are things we want to gain in our soul's journey that we never know how they're going to come. So
Mhm.
we have to stop being mad at every situation and realize we don't always know how the things are going to come to us. We
Yeah.
don't know, right?
Yeah.
Somebody might say, I want to experience unconditional love, but they've never experienced it with a spouse. They may, I don't know, get a dog that's their favorite dog in the whole world. Now they're experiencing it. Who knows? We never know how the thing that we need is going to come to us. And sometimes it doesn't look good. Bad things happen in life. I'll never say they don't. Bad stuff happens all the time. And again, say bad in air quotes because nothing's good or bad. We just never know. And you have to be open. You have to take yourself out of the equation. We have to stop acting like, the universe hates me. I lived in victim mode for many, many,
Mhm.
many years. And I did a
Mhm.
reframe in 2017 that literally changed my entire life. And it was around my mom. When she died, she was sick for 15 years. And I was mad at the world. I thought the world was unfair. I thought the world hated me. We grew up poor. We never had anything. She had broken marriages, broken home, everything, sick. I couldn't believe what a victim I was. I was mad at everybody. And then one day in 2017, 10 years after she died, this powerful reframe came to me that, oh my God, the universe doesn't hate me. The universe supported me because when she was originally sick, I was 13 going through agoraphobia. That would have been a catastrophe. I got 15 extra years with her.
Yeah.
Suddenly, my mind exploded. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe I never noticed that before. The
Yeah.
universe loves me. The universe was supporting me. The universe waited till I was 28, happily married and about to be a mom myself. Never ever looked at that subtle little nuance. I lived as a victim. I wore it proudly as a badge. I wanted everybody to know I'm a victim and life sucks and life hates me and the universe is bad and da 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 until I said, oh my God, I've been being held this whole time. How did I not see this? Now, the situation never changed. My mom still died
Mhm.
when I was 28. She was still sick for 15 years. But my perception, that's the frame, the reframe,
Yeah.
changed dramatically. And suddenly I leaned into that knowing of life's not always going to be easy. I'll never say it will be. It won't,
Mhm.
right? There's going to be crappy things that happen. But if you could look at the nuances like I just did, you suddenly realize you are supported, right?
Mhm.
Even when things don't feel good. Say, for instance, you get a bad health diagnosis, whatever. There's parts throughout that you are being supported. There's people that might be players that might come in just at the right time. Somebody that gives you the number of a doctor you need. Somebody that, picks your kids up from school when you need. That's support, right?
Mhm.
So it's
Mhm.
shifting, it's getting playful again, it's shifting your energy again and focusing on what you want versus what you don't want. That's the key to
Yeah.
manifesting. Focus on what you want. If you want the support, look for it because it's all around. If you want the validation that life is beautiful, look for it. It's
Yeah.
there. But if you want to feel like a victim and if you want to feel like, this isn't fair and what the hell, why is my life like that? Look for that because you'll find that too. So it's
Mhm.
really, really a subtle shift, but it's a powerful shift. And when I had that one in 2017, it literally was a game changer for me. And then a few years later, I started my coaching business. And that's one of my favorite things to do with clients is looking for the reframe, looking at how you are being supported. And it's a
Yeah.
total game changer.
Yeah, it really is. I talk about with my kids a lot, like, where are you shining your flashlight? It's because your
Oh,
flashlight is it's your perception. It's where you're looking. It's what you're seeing, and you can shine your flashlight anywhere you want. You have the choice, and you can shine it at the tough stuff, or you can shine it at the stuff that you prefer. Because I always say prefer, not prefer, because I agree with you, like nothing's good or bad. It's all neutral. But we certainly as humans have preferences. So are you, and if you're feeling really bad and you're noticing that you're shining your flashlight at something that is so unhelpful to you, then just pan over and find something that is helpful to you, and that reframes your perception of what is going on, and you will be able to find evidence to support it. If you
absolutely.
look, you will find evidence to support it. And it does change your whole life. I mean, it really does. And it allows your life to just be so much more expansive and beautiful, and so much more gratitude filters in. There's growth, like you can see the opportunities everywhere. So I would imagine that after 2017, honestly, if you really think about it, all the things that happened to you, and that was a lot, led you to where you are doing what you love and serving other people. And we all came here to serve, right? Every single one of us came here to serve. It is a matter of how you serve and who you serve, right? So that could be just raising your children. It could be serving, taking care of a loved one that has an illness. It could be serving somehow in your community. It could be your career. It could be, there are so many ways to serve, but we came here to serve. And your experiences are allowing you to now serve in this beautiful way that wouldn't have been possible had you not gone through all that you went through. So talk about, but my mom was raised Catholic. She calls it the bless and the mess. That's her expression, the bless and the mess. So what a beautiful blessing that came out of some really messy stuff that happened in your life. I don't want to hold you past your time. We're already past your time, but thank you so much for being here. I will say, can you just stay on? I'm going to stop recording. Can you just stay on for a minute afterwards? I forgot to say that at the top of the hour, but thank you so much for being here. I know our listeners are going to get a ton out of this. It was just a great conversation, and thank you for what you do. And I'm going to put all of your information in the show notes. So if people want to reach out to you, be in contact with you, we will do that. And also I'll put the however you access those videos. Oh, you said it was on your website. So I'll put your website out.
Yeah, and also my YouTube channel is a great place to check out my EFT tapping videos, meditation videos. I have lots of mindset and manifestation on there. And then on my website too, there's also a free manifestation guide. If anybody's interested in that, you could just put your email address right in and it sends it right to you. There's 5 simple steps that you could start manifesting the life of your dreams today. It's really exciting. These are the things that I use in my own life. So I would love to share it with your audience as well.
Okay, that's amazing. I love it. And if we're all walking around in a higher vibration, how much would this world change, right? Oh,
Amazing.
could you imagine? I mean,
Love it.
it's really exciting to think about. All right, thank you so much, Jillian. Have a wonderful night.
Thanks, you too.
All right. So after we finished recording, Jillian and I kept talking for a little bit, and I am so bummed that we didn't keep recording because so many great things came out after we hit stop on record. So I'm going to go through a few of them with you because they were just too good not to share. The first one is true manifestation. Apparently, Jillian had listened to a couple of my episodes. We follow each other on social media. As I mentioned earlier, she is in kind of she knows she's friends with people that I'm friends with. So she was aware of me and my show and what it's all about. And she said she was walking up the stairs one day and it literally just popped into her head like, I wonder if I could be a guest on Mom on the Verge. I wonder if Katie would ask me to be a guest on her show. I feel like I'm pretty aligned with the content that she produces. I kid you not. She then looked down at her phone and it was a message from me asking for her to be on the show. Whoa, so wild, so wild, so wild. So I had to share that with you. The other thing that she talked about, and she said, I wish I would have remembered to say this on the show. So I'm sharing it with you. This is not mine. This is Jillian's. But she talked about manifestation being like the Amazon effect, like Amazon, the online store. And that when you are manifesting something, it's like ordering something from Amazon. So you go onto Amazon, you place your order, then that's it. You forget about it. You don't think about it again. It's going to show up on your doorstep. You just trust that it's going to happen. And you might even be talking to a friend, and let's say you ordered a water bottle, and you see the friend, and the friend's drinking out of the exact same water bottle that you just ordered, and you're like, oh my God, I just got that water bottle, right? It hasn't even arrived at your house yet, but you just trust, you just know that it's coming. It's the Amazon effect. UPS is going to drop it off on your doorstep. And you have that level of faith that it will show up. And so manifestation can be the same, right? When you know there's something that you desire and you put that desire out into the universe, you just forget about it. You let it go, and you trust and have faith that it's going to show up in divine timing on your doorstep. And unlike Amazon, it does not have a 2-day guaranteed delivery, but we know that when we put it out there and we release, that it will return to us as long as there's not something blocking it. And I'm actually going to add to this metaphor a little bit, because I have a dog. If you follow me on social media, my dog Hunter is like a major presence on my social media platform. I love him to pieces. And we have an electric fence that surrounds our whole yard so that he can use our whole yard. And he loves to be outside. So generally he wants to go outside in the morning, and he really doesn't like to come back in until dinner time. And so often Amazon will come to deliver a package, but they can't get to my doorstep because they're afraid of my dog, because he's barking. And so they're calling saying, please bring your dog inside, because I'm trying to deliver this package. And if we're not home and we can't, then the package doesn't get delivered. So Hunter would represent, in what Jillian was talking about, that block between the desire and the manifestation of the desire. There can be this block. Hunter would be the block to Amazon. Sometimes Amazon can't deliver the package because there's a block. And so I need to bring him inside. We need to excavate our block and remove it. So I just love that analogy. I thought it was great. And I thought it would help you to kind of wrap your brain around this topic. So the other thing she mentioned, and I am going to put this out there as my invitation for your exercise for the week, is we were again talking off camera, and she said, oh, I love to tell my clients to kind of play with the emotions of what you want. So if you want something in particular that you'd like to manifest, just like play with it. Just say, oh, what would it feel like if I had X? What would it feel like if I had Y? And really take some time to like think about that and live in the emotion of it and visualize it, and just but in a very playful way, not in a serious way or in a way that, has any weight to it. Just like, oh, wouldn't it be fun? Oh, it would be so fun if, and it would be so fun because blah, blah, blah. And like, if X happened, then this also would happen, right? This would be the outcome of getting X. So that's my invitation to you this week. If you want to play with some manifestation, I would think about what you want to place an order for, what you want to order from Amazon. Think about, what it would feel like once you got it, right? If going back to the water bottle analogy, right? Once you get the water bottle, you're like, oh my God, I love my water bottle. It's so cute. And it makes drinking more water so much more easy. And it fits perfectly in my cup holder. It's so convenient, and it keeps the water cold, and like, oh, it's so great, right? And then think about, is there a Hunter in your way, right? Is there something blocking Amazon from dropping off this package to you? And just play with that. So have fun with it. I, of course, will do the newsletter and put lots more stuff in there. But I, play with that and have fun with it. And I would love to hear from any of you who are on a manifestation journey, who have been playing with this. And as Jillian said, we're all manifesting all the time, right? So we're all manifesting. We're all on a manifesting journey because it's happening all the time. But have you been intentionally playing with manifestation and intentionally trying to bring something in particular forward in your life? And I would love to hear about that. I'd also love to hear if you identify any blocks, like when Jillian was talking about, how powerful that we can be and how much actual, autonomy we have to bring these things into our lives. I actually felt a physical sensation in my chest of some fear in there. And I recognize that as a block. That fear is a block. And so I'd love to hear if you yourself were experiencing anything like that when you were listening to the conversation. So email me, katie@momontheverge.org. Send me a private message on Instagram. It's Katie Mom and Yogi. Visit my website. All the links to everything is there. And let me know. I'd love to hear from you. And as always, if you are interested in Dharma coaching, as Jillian described her journey, she was living her Dharma, right? She didn't realize it. She did finally get to, this place that she feels really good about and that she's living her Dharma. And I'm sure that will evolve over time as well, right? Because Dharma is not static. It's something that continuously evolves. When we get more self-awareness and understanding, it's easier for us to follow the breadcrumbs of our Dharma. So I would love to help you do that. It is my passion. And just visit my website and book a free discovery call, and we can talk and see if you feel like it's something that's right for you. All right, guys, have a wonderful week, and I will talk to you soon. Hi, everyone. If you enjoyed this episode or any of our other episodes, I ask that you please like the show, follow, subscribe, or share. The way that podcasts work is the more people that do one of those things, the more likely it is that when someone's looking for a podcast to listen to, our show will pop up for them. I started this podcast because I really see there's a great need in our world for people to feel more peace, joy, love, and acceptance in their lives. And I think we can do that when we have a greater sense of self-awareness. We could become conscious creators of our own lives. And I'm seeking to do that for as many people as possible. So if you could help me by liking, sharing, or subscribing to the show, I'd really appreciate it. And hopefully someone hears a conversation that changes their life. Thank you again, and I'll see you next time. Much love.